Dear loving children, let's start a new session of our geography online class. After a week holidays, we are coming back with our online classes. Today we are continuing with the same lesson, chapter Minerals and Energy Resources. Already we completed the first part of the lesson, that means about minerals and its features we completed. And the next second topic is remaining, that is about power or energy resources. We are explaining that topic now. Okay? I hope that you have all done and completed your all works and completed your notebooks. And after hearing this video today itself, you should complete your notes and post the notebooks in your Google Classrooms. You don't wait for the end of this lesson or you don't wait for my instructions again. Okay, don't forget it. Can we start the lesson? Okay. Next topic is power resources or energy resources. As you know that, like minerals, power is also very important resources. Power is very important vital resources because we need power for many of our purposes. We need energy or power for agriculture, for industry, for transport, communication and many other activities. That's why it is very important. Okay? And these power resources we can categorize into two types. One is conventional energy resources and non-conventional energy resources. Power resources can be classified into two, conventional energy resources and non-conventional energy resources. Okay? It's very easy to differentiate these two. Have you studied in the previous part or first topic about renewable and non-renewable? Yes, you studied. You studied the differences between renewable and non-renewable. The same you can write it. Conventional resources are the resources which have been in common use for a long time. Okay, non-conventional resources are a renewable resource. Then you can differentiate that point. Conventional resources are resources which is in use for a long time. For example, fossil fuels are conventional resources. Coal, petroleum are conventional resources. These are non-renewable resources. Clear? And non-conventional resources are the renewable energy resources like wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, etc. The non-conventional resources or renewable energy resources. Okay? Conventional resources are non-renewable resources and non-conventional resources are renewable resources. Is it okay? Then first we are discussing about conventional resources. Okay, there are three main important conventional resources we are learning. One is firewood. Nothing is to mention more. Firewood is the important source of energy what we use for our domestic use. Besides that, coal, petroleum, natural gas. Coal, petroleum, natural gas are the three important conventional energy resources. Okay, and non-conventional we can discuss later. The first one is conventional energy resources or coal. As you know that, coal is the most important energy resource. We use coal for different purposes. We use coal for as a raw material for many other industrial purposes. We use coal as a lubricant or for machineries or industrial purposes we use coal. Okay, coal is very important and abundantly found fossil fuel in India. Coal is the most abundantly found or available fossil fuel in India which can be used for many purposes and many industrial sectors use coal as raw material. Okay, and petrochemical industries and refineries, aluminum smelting refineries use coal as important raw material. Okay, this coal, how is coal formed? You already learned, I think. How is coal formed? Coal is formed due to this from that remains of plants. The remains of plants and vegetation buried under the earth, converted in the form of fossil fuels by the intense heat and pressure of the earth's interior of the earth. That means these are found deep under the earth which are developed from the remains of plants. These remains of plants buried under the earth for millions of years ago, they got converted into fossil fuels. Okay, these fossil fuels are coal and petroleum are fossil fuels. These are so expensive, my dear children, everyone knows that. That's why it is called as black gold. Okay, sorry, it is called as, gold is called as buried sunshine. Okay, buried sunshine, which is buried under the earth. It is very important. Okay, and then there are many countries which are the leading producers of gold. Russia, USA, Germany, etc. etc. In India, Raniganj, Bokaro, Jaria, you might have heard about the Jaria coal field, Raniganj coal field, Bokaro coal field in West Bengal, Odisha, etc. These are the leading producers of coal in India. Is it okay? Coal is the non-conventional energy resource, conventional energy resources. It is most abundantly available fossil fuel. It is formed due to the burial of plants materials under the earth millions of years ago. Okay, and leading producers of coal in India are Raniganj, Bokaro, Jaria, etc. Okay, it is also called as buried sunshine. Buried sunshine. Like coal, the petroleum is also another important conventional resource. Petroleum is also formed deep under the earth, and this, as we have already mentioned, the remains of plant material got converted into a form of petrol or petroleum products like petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. These are in black color, that is why it is called as black gold. India also has large deposits of petroleum and other petroleum products also. Okay, petrol, and it is also used for many purposes, especially as fuel for domestic purposes and industrial purposes, fuel. And as you know that Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq are the leading producers of petroleum in the world. Besides it, India also produced Big Boy in Assam, Bombay High or Mumbai High in the off-coastal areas of Maharashtra are the leading producers of petrol in India. That means petrol is also important. Okay, and the next is natural gas. Natural gas is the clean energy resources which also can emit energy we use for domestic purposes and as well as for running vehicles too. As my dear children, from this you can understand that these conventional resources take a long period or millions of years for their formation. But at the same time, these are vital, these are very important for us. That's why we use these resources excessively. This excessive or indiscriminate continuous exploitation of resources, which may lead lots of danger, lots of problems, because the formation, the rate at which the conventional resources are formed, fossil fuels are formed is very less, but the rate we consume is more. That's why it is very important to conserve. We have to take the measures to conserve these conventional resources. At the same time, it is very clear that petrol and coal that emit a large amount of pollutants in the air, that also should be minimized. We have to take more measures to find out other ways of energy resources. From this we use that particular important feature or shortage of these resources, which may lead the way of another type of resources, that is the non-conventional energy resources. Is it clear? That means we discussed about conventional resources, coal, petroleum, natural gas. And then the continuous use of, excessive use of these conventional resources which may lead shortage of these resources. That's where we made another type of ways of providing energy resources, that is non-conventional energy resources. They are non-renewable and as well as they make less pollution. Okay, that's why the next part we can discuss about non-conventional energy resources, right? Is it clear? And what are the difference between conventional and non-conventional? Which are the conventional resources we explained. The next about non-conventional energy resources. Is it okay? Dear children, next we are discussing about non-conventional energy resources. Okay? Conventional we explained, then non-conventional energy resources. As I have already mentioned, the continuous use of conventional energy resources leading to its shortage. Okay, the exploited nature of the people or humans may lead the shortage of conventional resources. Okay, the excessive use of the conventional resources may lead the depletion of these resources. Besides that, non-conventional use and use of this coal and petroleum will also create environmental pollution. That is why there is a pressing need for utilizing other important energy resources which do not or which may not create any pollution. That is non-conventional energy resources. Non-conventional energy resources are renewable energy resources which will not create any pollution. The important non-conventional energy resources are, already you know that point, they are solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, tidal energy, etc. Solar energy plants or the cells are very familiar to you. It's very easy to produce energy if you fit the solar panels, solar cooker, different devices we use. Okay, different devices we use, and India is a tropical country in which India has enormous possibility of using solar energy. Okay, that's why solar plants, if we set up the solar plant or solar panels, it is very easy to utilize this abundant solar resources or sun rays, and we can make the energies. Okay, initial cost of putting that solar panel is more, but subsequent maintenance is less. I think that many of you have their own solar panels in your own home. Okay, that means solar energy is the most important conventional energy resources. In India, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan region, many solar plants, solar energy plants are located in Bhuj and Rajasthan and many other states. Okay. The next is wind energy. Wind is also a renewable energy resources. And you can see that windmills, India is a country, tropical and subtropical country. India has also the abundant facilities for tapping the solar wind energy. Windmills does not produce any pollution. That's why there are different Tamil Nadu region, Rajasthan and Jaisalmer region. Many windmills or wind farm clusters are there in Nagarkoil in Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, many areas. Okay. Solar plants and wind plants, windmills and solar energy mills. The next is we are discussing about geothermal energy. Geothermal energy, thermal energy, thermal energy we didn't mention, I forgot to mention that point. Thermal energy, have you heard about thermal energy? Thermal energy means energy produced from the heat emitted from the coal. That means energy obtained from coal is called as thermal energy, that is the conventional energy resources. Geothermal energy means the heat produced from the interior of the earth used to drive turbine and produce electricity is called as geothermal energy. Got it? The differences between thermal and geothermal. You will be studying the same portion in the higher classes also. Thermal energy and geothermal. Thermal is the conventional energy resources, the energy produced from coal. Geothermal energy is the non-conventional energy resources, energy produced from the interior of the earth. Hot springs inside the earth produce heat, and this heat is used to drive turbine and produce energy, which is called as geothermal energy. Himachal Pradesh, Leh, Ladakh region, there are many geothermal energy plants. Parvati Valley in Puga, in Ladakh and Himachal Pradesh, many areas of geothermal plants in India which produce energy. Okay, geothermal energy. The next is another important one is tidal energy. From tide, the movement of tide, we can produce energy. Okay, and especially in Gujarat region we have tidal energy plants. Okay, by taking that, using the force of the tides, we can produce the energy. Okay, that is tidal energy. These are the four important way of producing non-conventional energy resources. And keep this point in your mind, my dear children. Besides that, the differences, advantages and disadvantages, all these energy resources which is given in the textbook as in the flow chart, you read all that part. Okay, this portion is very simple because only one word questions or 1 mark questions will be coming from these portions. You don't want to study any essay question from this, only one essay question that I will give. For all others, you will study that, read the textbook and make it clear. Understood? And I think it is clear to you. Listen the video first and after that you read your textbook and write the question and answers. Is it okay? Let us summarize the point, advantages and disadvantages also, summarize the question and answers what we have learned. My dear children, again I am reminding you to send your notebooks or post your notebooks, submit your notebooks in the Google Classroom just after this class. Okay, the next day itself, tomorrow itself, you can complete your notebook and paste or post your notebook in the Google Classroom. Then it will be easy for me to check your notebooks. Okay, can you do that? Good, and do it and read your textbook. In the next class we will be starting the new lesson that I will inform you. Okay, either in politics or history we can start. Is it okay? Do your work and be sincere and work properly or systematically, my dear children. Thank you.
Children, let us recall the question and answers what we learned. The first question, differentiate between conventional and non-conventional resources. The answer, first, conventional resources. Conventional sources of energy are those which have been in common use for a long time. Conventional sources are the energy resources which we have been in common use for a long time. Second point, firewood and fossil fuels such as coal, petroleum, natural gas are the main source of conventional sources. Mainly fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, natural gas are the main source of conventional sources. They are non-renewable. These fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. Okay. Third point, these are limited. Conventional resources are limited. The rate at which we consume these resources are greater than the rate of their formation. The rate of consumption is more, but the rate of formation is less. Fourth point, already we have mentioned, fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. Okay. The next is non-conventional sources. First point, the non-conventional sources are renewable energy resources. Second point, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, tidal energy, etc. are non-conventional energy resources. Third point, these are unlimited and are cheaply available. These are found everywhere, that's why they are not so expensive. Okay. Second question, what is the difference between thermal and geothermal energy? Answer, energy produced from coal is called thermal energy. When we heat coal, which produce energy, which is called as thermal energy. Second one, heat energy obtained from the earth is called geothermal energy. Okay. Third question, what is called as buried sunshine? Answer, coal. Coal is known as buried sunshine. Fourth question, what is known as black gold? Petroleum is called black gold. The next question, how is biogas produced? Dear children, listen very carefully. Organic waste such as dead plant, animal material, animal dung and kitchen waste can be converted into a gaseous fuel called biogas. The organic waste is decomposed by bacteria in biogas digesters to emit biogas, which is essentially a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide. I think that biogas plants are very familiar to you, and these are mainly produced from the organic waste materials. Got it? Study these points and let us summarize the next advantages and disadvantages between the many different types of conventional and non-conventional energy resources. Let us listen. Dear children, next we are discussing the different types of conventional and non-conventional energy resources and their advantages and disadvantages. First, coal. Advantages, extensively available, abundantly available, efficient conversion of to electricity. We can change into electricity. Disadvantages: polluting source, it can pollute atmosphere. Bulky to transport, it is difficult to transport. Okay. Next, wind energy. Advantages: non-polluting, low cost production of electricity once set up, safe and clean. Disadvantages: it causes noise pollution. Windmills are costly to set up. It disturbs radio and TV reception. It is also harmful to birds. Next, solar energy. Advantages: these are inexhaustible, that means renewable. Non-polluting, does not pollute atmosphere. Disadvantages: expensive, it is very expensive to set up solar plants. Diffuse source, so get wasted, and then it is difficult to set up and utilize these resources. These are the disadvantages. Okay. Next, tidal energy. Advantages: non-polluting, inexhaustible. Disadvantages: destroy wildlife habitat, and it is difficult to harness these energy resources. Next, nuclear energy. Advantages: emits large amount of energy. Disadvantages: generate radioactive waste, and it is expensive. Next, biogas. Advantages: low cost of production, easy to operate, makes use of bio waste. Disadvantages: causes greenhouse effect. Geothermal energy. Advantages: clean, eco-friendly, and always available. Disadvantages: located far away from cities and so costly to transport the electricity. Next, hydel power. Advantages: non-polluting, promotes irrigation and fishing, cheap. Disadvantages: displacement of local community, inundates low-lying regions, expensive to set up. Firewood. Advantages: easy access, provides energy to a large number of people. Disadvantages: collection is time consuming, polluting, promoting greenhouse effect and deforestation. Next, oil. Advantages: easier to transport, basis of petrochemical industries. Disadvantages: depletion of oxygen due to oil spillage and gas leakage, pollutants released caused acid rain, exploration of new fuel is not easy. And natural gas advantages: easier to transport, cleaner than oil and coal, cheaper than oil. Advantages, you can write the same point what we read in the oil. My dear children, this area is also there in the same way in the textbook. Read that and write in your notebook. And I have already told you to send your notebooks to my or submit your notebooks in Google Classroom tomorrow itself. Okay? And read your chapter we have completed. Read it and make it clear and prepare for the exam. Thank you.